Ethan Carter had always been a man of routine. Every morning he woke up at 6 o'clock sharp, made himself a cup of black coffee, and sat by the window to watch the sun rise over Maplewood. It wasn't much, a small town where everyone knew everyone, but it was home. After breakfast, he would head to Maplewood High School, where he taught physics to teenagers who often cared more about their phones than Newton's laws. And every evening, after grading papers or preparing lessons, he'd retreat to his modest house on Elm Street. But today felt different. The day before, Ethan had received a letter from his grandmother informing him that his grandfather's old house needed clearing out. His grandfather, Henry Carter, had passed away 5 years ago, leaving behind a lifetime of memories and clutter. The thought of going through all those boxes filled Ethan with both dread and curiosity. He hadn't stepped foot in that house since he was a kid, and now, as an adult, he wondered what secrets might still be hidden there. When Ethan arrived at the creaky wooden house on Birch Lane, he found it exactly as he remembered, covered in ivy, smelling faintly of cedar and full of dusty corners. The air inside was thick with the scent of age, and sunlight streamed through cracks in the shutters, illuminating particles floating lazily in the air. Ethan sighed, rolled up his sleeves, and got to work. For hours, he sorted through piles of yellowed newspapers, stacks of vinyl records, and shelves lined with books whose pages smelled like history. There were photo albums filled with pictures of family vacations, birthday parties, and holidays long forgotten. But it wasn't until he climbed into the attic that things took a strange turn. The attic was dimly lit, its only source of light coming from a single bulb hanging from the ceiling. Boxes were stacked haphazardly against the walls, some labeled neatly, others not at all. As Ethan began opening them, he found nothing particularly exciting: old clothes, Christmas decorations, and random knickknacks. Then, tucked away in the far corner, he spotted something unusual: an old laptop wrapped in a faded gray cloth. Curious, Ethan wiped off the dust and turned it on. The screen flickered to life, revealing a desktop cluttered with files. Most of them seemed unimportant: old spreadsheets, documents, and photos. But one file stood out. Its name was simple yet intriguing: Project Imperfect. Ethan clicked on it, and a series of complex equations appeared on the screen. At first glance, they looked like nonsense, a jumble of numbers and symbols. But as he scrolled down, he noticed diagrams and notes scribbled in the margins. Some phrases caught his eye: faster than light transfer, quantum entanglement, and portal generation. What on earth is this? Ethan muttered to himself, leaning closer to the screen. He didn't understand everything he was looking at, but one thing was clear: this wasn't just theoretical. Whoever had written these notes believed they could actually build something based on these calculations. Ethan spent the rest of the afternoon trying to make sense of the file. By the time night fell, his head was spinning with questions. Who had created this? Was it his grandfather, or had someone else left it here? And most importantly, did it really work? Knowing he couldn't figure it all out alone, Ethan decided to call his childhood friend Lily Monroe. They had grown up together in Maplewood, climbing trees and riding bikes down dirt paths. Now Lily lived in Silicon Valley, working as a software engineer for a tech startup. If anyone could help him decode the mystery, it was her. "Hey, Lily," Ethan said when she picked up the phone. "I need your help with something weird." Lily laughed. "Weird? Coming from you, that's saying something. What's going on?" Ethan hesitated, unsure how to explain without sounding crazy. "I found something in my grandpa's attic. It's hard to describe. Can I come visit you? I think you need to see it for yourself." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "You're serious, aren't you?" "Dead serious." "All right," Lily said finally. "Come on over. But if this turns out to be some kind of prank, I'm never speaking to you again." Relieved, Ethan packed up the laptop and drove to Silicon Valley the next morning. When he arrived at Lily's apartment, she greeted him with a raised eyebrow and a skeptical smile. "So, show me this big discovery of yours," she said, gesturing for him to sit down at her kitchen table. Ethan opened the laptop and pulled up the file. For a moment, Lily stared at the screen in silence, her expression unreadable. Then slowly her eyes widened. This is incredible, she whispered, scrolling through the equations. Where did you find this? In my grandpa's attic, Ethan replied. Do you think it's real? Could it actually work? Lily leaned back in her chair, rubbing her temples. I don't know. This is way beyond anything I've seen before. Faster than light transfer, portal generation. It sounds like science fiction, but... She paused, her voice dropping. If it's real, it could change everything. Over. The next few days, Ethan and Lily pored over the file, piecing together fragments of information and running simulations on Lily's computer. They worked late into the night, fueled by pizza and endless cups of coffee. Slowly but surely, they began to understand how the system was supposed to function. According to the notes, the portal relied on quantum entanglement to create a stable connection between 2 points in space-time. If they could replicate the process described in the file, they might be able to open a doorway to another location, or even another world. But as they delved deeper into the project, strange things started happening. One night, while testing a prototype program, Ethan noticed a car parked outside Lily's building. It was dark with tinted windows and it hadn't moved in hours. At first he dismissed it as paranoia, but the next morning the same car was still there. Someone's watching us, Ethan told Lily nervously. She frowned. Are you sure? Maybe it's just a coincidence. It's not a coincidence, Ethan insisted. We need to be careful. If whoever wrote this file knew what they were doing, then we're sitting on something dangerous. Lily nodded, her usual confidence wavering. You're right. We should keep this between us, for now. Despite their growing unease, Ethan and Lily pressed on. They couldn't afford to stop now, not when they were so close to making a breakthrough. Finally, after weeks of trial and error, they managed to activate the program. A shimmering disk appeared in the middle of Lily's living room, hovering inches above the floor. It was translucent like a pool of liquid light, and it pulsed faintly with energy. Ethan stared at it, his heart pounding. Is it safe? I have no idea, Lily admitted, but we won't know unless we try. Grabbing a pen from the table, Ethan tossed it toward the disk. To his amazement, the pen vanished the moment it touched the surface. He exchanged a stunned look with Lily. We did it, she breathed. It works. Before they could celebrate, however, there was a loud knock at the door. Startled, Ethan and Lily froze, staring at each other in panic. Who is it? Lily called out cautiously. The response came in the form of a stern voice. Federal agents, open up. Ethan's stomach dropped. Somehow, someone had found out about their experiment, and they weren't here to congratulate them. Without hesitation, Lily grabbed the laptop and shoved it into her bag. We need to go. Now, she whispered urgently. Heart racing, Ethan followed her to the fire escape. Behind them, the sound of the door being forced open echoed through the apartment. They didn't look back. Clutching the bag tightly, Lily led the way down the rickety metal stairs, their footsteps clanging loudly in the night. As they reached the ground, Ethan glanced over his shoulder. Shadows moved in the window above, silhouettes of men searching for them. Adrenaline surged through his veins as he and Lily sprinted toward the alleyway, dodging trash cans and leaping over puddles. They couldn't outrun whoever was chasing them. Not forever. Their only chance lay in the very thing they had created. Through the portal, Lily shouted, pointing ahead. Ethan hesitated for a split second, then nodded. Together they ran toward the shimmering disk, which still hovered eerily in the middle of the room. Taking a deep breath, they stepped through and disappeared. When Ethan and Lily stepped through the portal, they felt a strange sensation, as if they were being stretched and compressed at the same time. The world around them blurred into a kaleidoscope of colors before everything went black. For a moment, they thought they had made a terrible mistake. But then, just as suddenly as it began, the sensation stopped. Ethan opened his eyes first. He blinked several times, trying to adjust to the brightness. They weren't in Lily's apartment anymore, or anywhere on Earth for that matter. Instead, they stood in the middle of a vast desert under two blazing suns. The ground beneath their feet was cracked and dry, and the air smelled faintly metallic. In the distance, towering structures jutted out of the landscape like broken teeth, their surfaces covered in strange symbols that glowed faintly blue. "Where are we?" Ethan asked, his voice trembling. Lily shook her head, still catching her breath. "I don't know, but I think we're not alone." She pointed toward one of the ruins. Figures were moving among the debris, tall, slender beings with shimmering scales that shifted colors depending on how the light hit them. Their eyes were large and almond-shaped, glowing softly in hues of green and gold. They didn't look human, but they didn't seem hostile either. Before Ethan or Lily could decide what to do next, one of the creatures approached them. It moved gracefully, its long limbs making each step appear effortless. When it spoke, its voice sounded melodic, almost musical, though the words themselves were incomprehensible. Ethan glanced at Lily nervously. "Do you understand any of that?" "No," she admitted, "but maybe they can help us get back home." The creature tilted its head, studying them intently. Then, to their surprise, it reached out and touched Lily's arm. A warm, tingling sensation spread through her body, and suddenly, she could understand what the creature was saying. "Welcome, travelers," it said. "You have crossed the threshold of the Arden Gates. My name is Kyle. I am an elder of the Valens." "The what?" Ethan blurted out, confused. Kale turned his gaze to Ethan, and the same tingling sensation passed between them. Now both Ethan and Lily could understand the alien language perfectly. "The Arden Gates are ancient portals created by the Arden civilization," Kale explained. "They once used these gates to explore the stars, seeking knowledge and connection. But their ambition led to their downfall. They meddled with forces beyond their control, and now only fragments of their legacy remain." Lily frowned. "So, this isn't Earth? And the Arden are gone?" Kyle nodded solemnly. "Yes. This world is known as Xiria, one of many places connected by the gates. As for the Arden, they vanished centuries ago, leaving behind relics of immense power. Some of those relics still exist, scattered across the galaxy. Many seek them, hoping to harness their abilities for their own purposes." Ethan swallowed hard. "And us? What happens to us now?" Kale studied them for a moment before answering. "That depends on your intentions. If you wish to return to your world, I cannot stop you. However, I must warn you, if others discover the existence of the gates, they may try to exploit them. You carry knowledge that could bring great harm to your people." Lily exchanged a worried glance with Ethan. She knew Kale was right. If the wrong people found out about the portal technology, it could lead to disaster. But staying here, on an alien planet, seemed equally daunting. "What if we stayed?" Lily ventured cautiously. "Could you teach us more about the Arden? About the gates?" Kale's expression softened. "If you choose to remain, we will offer you sanctuary. But be warned, the path ahead will not be easy. There are dangers beyond the gates, and protecting the Arden relics is no small task." Ethan hesitated. He wasn't sure he was cut out for something like this. Back home, he was just a high school teacher, comfortable in his predictable life. But deep down, he knew running away wouldn't solve anything. If there was even a chance to prevent the kind of destruction Kale described, he had to take it. "We'll stay," Ethan said finally, looking at Lily for confirmation. She nodded, her determination matching his own. Kyle inclined his head. "Very well, come with me. There is much to learn." Over the next few days, Ethan and Lily settled into life among the Valens. The aliens welcomed them warmly, providing food, shelter, and guidance as they adjusted to their new surroundings. The Valens lived in harmony with nature, their society, built on principles of balance and respect for all living things. They taught Ethan and Lily about the history of the Arden and the importance of safeguarding their remaining artifacts. One day, while exploring the ruins with Kale, Ethan noticed something unusual, a faint hum coming from one of the structures. Following the sound, he discovered a small device embedded in the wall. It looked like a sphere, No bigger than a basketball, but its surface shimmered with intricate patterns that shifted constantly. "What is this?" Ethan asked, reaching out to touch it. Kale quickly grabbed his hand. "Do not touch it. That is a fragment of the core nexus, one of the most powerful relics left behind by the Arden. It holds the ability to manipulate space-time itself." Lily's eyes widened. "Manipulate space-time? Like, create portals?" "Yes," Kale replied, gravely, "and destroy entire worlds if misused. We have kept it hidden here for centuries, but recently, we've detected signs of intruders nearby. Someone knows of its existence." Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. Who would come here? How could they even find this place? Kyle sighed. "There are factions throughout the galaxy who seek power above all else. They believe the core nexus can grant them dominion over reality itself. If they succeed in claiming it, the consequences will be catastrophic." Determined to help protect the relic, Ethan and Lily threw themselves into training. The Valens taught them how to use advanced tools and weapons powered by quantum energy. At first, Ethan struggled to keep up, his hands clumsy and uncoordinated. But with practice, and plenty of encouragement from Lily, he gradually improved. Meanwhile, Lily found herself drawn to another aspect of Valen culture: their starships. Sleek and aerodynamic, the vessels were unlike anything she'd ever seen. With her background in engineering, she quickly became fascinated by their inner workings. One of the Valens, a young pilot named Zira, took her under her wing, teaching her how to navigate the complexities of interstellar travel. As the weeks passed, Ethan and Lily grew closer to their new allies. They learned to trust the Valens, and vice versa, but they also couldn't shake the feeling that trouble was brewing. Kale's warnings about intruders lingered in their minds, a constant reminder of the danger lurking just beyond the horizon. Then one evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting the desert in shades of orange and purple, alarms rang out across the settlement. Kale appeared moments later, his usually calm demeanor replaced with urgency. "They're here," he said grimly. "Prepare yourselves." Ethan and Lily exchanged a nervous glance. Whatever was coming, they knew they couldn't face it alone. Grabbing their gear, they joined the Valens as they mobilized to defend the core nexus. From the shadows of the ruins emerged a group of armored figures, their weapons glowing with menacing energy. They moved with precision, their leader, a hulking brute with cybernetic enhancements, barking orders in a guttural language. "This ends now," Kale declared, stepping forward. "You will not take the nexus." The brute smirked, raising his weapon. "We shall see." What followed was chaos. Blasts of energy lit up the night sky as the Valens clashed with the invaders. Ethan and Lily fought alongside their allies, using everything they had learned in training to hold their ground. Despite their efforts, the enemy pressed forward, relentless in their pursuit of the relic. In the heat of battle, Ethan spotted the brute heading straight for the structure containing the core nexus. Without thinking, he charged after him, tackling the massive figure to the ground. They grappled fiercely, each struggling for dominance. Just as the brute raised his weapon to strike, Lily appeared, firing a bolt of quantum energy that sent him sprawling. "Thanks," Ethan gasped, getting to his feet. "Don't mention it," Lily replied, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Together they dragged the unconscious brute away from the nexus, ensuring it remained safe. Slowly but surely, the tide of the battle turned in favor of the Valens. Outnumbered and outmatched, the invaders retreated into the darkness, leaving behind a trail of scorched earth. As the dust settled, Kale approached Ethan and Lily, his expression filled with gratitude. "You have proven yourselves worthy allies. Because of your bravery, the Nexus remains protected for now." Ethan exhaled deeply, the weight of the fight finally sinking in. "For now," he echoed. "But what happens when they come back?" Kyle placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then we will stand together once more. Until then, rest. You've earned it." Exhausted but victorious, Ethan and Lily returned to the settlement, their bond stronger than ever. Though they had only begun their journey, they knew one thing for certain. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them side by side. The days following the battle were a blur of activity. Ethan and Lily worked alongside the Valens to repair the damage caused by the invaders. The ruins, already fragile from centuries of neglect, had suffered further destruction during the Lao fight. Kyle oversaw the restoration efforts, ensuring that every stone was placed back where it belonged. For Ethan, the physical labor was exhausting but oddly satisfying. It gave him a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in years. Lily, on the other hand, spent most of her time studying the core nexus. Under Zira's guidance, she learned how to interact with its energy fields without triggering any dangerous reactions. The sphere was unlike anything she'd ever encountered. Its patterns shifted constantly, almost as if it were alive. She couldn't help but feel a mix of awe and unease whenever she approached it. Despite their progress, the threat of another attack loomed over everyone. Kyle called a meeting one evening to discuss their next steps. Gathered around a glowing crystal that served as both light source and communication device, the group listened intently as Kale spoke. "The Nexus is safe for now," he began, his voice calm but firm. "But the enemy will return. They are persistent and they have resources we cannot match. To protect this relic and others like it, we must act." Ethan raised his hand hesitantly. "What do you mean? What can we do?" Kyle turned to him, his golden eyes gleaming in the dim light. "There are other Arden relics scattered across the galaxy. Some hold great power, while others contain knowledge vital to understanding the gates. If we gather these relics, we can ensure they do not fall into the wrong hands." Lily frowned. "But how? We don't even know where to start." "We have records," Kale replied, gesturing to the glowing symbols etched into the walls of the ruins. "These markings tell us the locations of several key artifacts. However, retrieving them will require traveling through the gates, and that is no easy task." Before anyone could respond, a young Valen named Soren stepped forward. He was leaner than most of his kind, with scales that shimmered in shades of silver and blue. "I volunteer to go," he said boldly. "The Nexus has shown me visions of the relics. I can guide you." Kale nodded approvingly. "Very well. Soren will accompany you, but you will need more than just his guidance. You will need allies." At that moment, two figures entered the chamber. One was Ryan Dawson, a former soldier who had been stranded on Ziria after accidentally stepping through a gate years ago. His rugged appearance and quiet demeanor made him seem intimidating, but Ethan sensed there was more to him than met the eye. The other was Mia Torres, a resourceful mechanic who had also found herself trapped on the alien planet. Her sharp wit and quick thinking had earned her a place among the Valens. "This is Ryan and Mia," Kale introduced them. "They have experience navigating the dangers beyond the gates. Together, you will form a team tasked with recovering the relics." Ethan glanced at Lily, who looked equally surprised. "Are you sure about this?" he asked Kale. "We're not exactly professionals." "You have proven yourselves capable," Kale replied. "And you have something the others lack, a connection to Earth. Your perspective may prove invaluable." With little time to waste, the group prepared for their mission. Over the next few days, they trained rigorously, learning how to pilot the sleek Valon starships and operate advanced weapon systems. Ethan struggled at first, his movements clumsy compared to the fluid grace of the aliens. But Ryan took him under his wing, teaching him how to handle himself in combat. "You've got potential," Ryan told him one evening as they practiced sparring techniques. "You just need to trust yourself." Ethan nodded, though doubt still lingered in his mind. He wasn't used to relying on instinct. It went against everything he'd been taught as a teacher. But he knew he had to adapt if he wanted to survive. Meanwhile, Lily bonded with Mia over their shared love of technology. The two women spent hours tinkering with the ship's engines, improving their efficiency and adding custom modifications. Mia admired Lily's ingenuity, while Lily appreciated Mia's practical approach to problem-solving. As departure day approached, tensions ran high. None of them knew what awaited them beyond the gates, and the thought of facing unknown dangers weighed heavily on their minds. Still, They pressed on, driven by a shared determination to protect the relics and perhaps find a way back home. Finally, the moment came. Standing before the shimmering portal, the team exchanged nervous glances. Kale addressed them one last time. "Remember why you are doing this," he said. "The fate of countless worlds depends on your success. Trust in each other and trust in yourselves." With those words echoing in their ears, they stepped through the gate. On the other side, they found themselves in a dense jungle, the air thick with humidity and the scent of exotic flowers. Towering trees stretched toward the sky, their branches intertwined to form a natural canopy. Strange creatures flitted between the leaves, their calls filling the air with an eerie symphony. "This place gives me the creeps," Mia muttered, clutching her weapon tightly. "Stay alert," Ryan warned. "We don't know what's out here." Soren led the way, his keen senses guiding them through the tangled undergrowth. After hours of hiking, they reached a clearing where a massive structure stood, a pyramid-like building covered in vines and moss. Its surface was etched with the same glowing symbols they had seen in the ruins on Zyria. "That's it," Soren said, pointing to the structure. "The relic is inside." The team approached cautiously, scanning the area for signs of danger. As they climbed the steps leading to the entrance, Ethan noticed something odd, a faint buzzing sound coming from within. He motioned for the others to stop. "Do you hear that?" he whispered. Lily nodded. "It sounds like machinery." Before they could investigate further, a group of humanoid creatures emerged from the shadows. Unlike the Valens, these beings were shorter and stockier, with rough, leathery skin and glowing red eyes. They carried crude weapons fashioned from bone and metal, and their expressions were hostile. "Looks like we're not alone," Ryan said grimly, raising his weapon. The creatures charged without warning, forcing the team to scatter. Ethan ducked, behind a pillar, his heart pounding as he fumbled with his blaster. Across the room, Lily fired precise shots, taking down several attackers with ease. Ryan and Mia fought side by side, their movements coordinated and efficient. Soren, meanwhile, focused on reaching the relic. Dodging blows and weaving through the chaos, he finally reached the center of the chamber, where a crystalline object floated above a pedestal. Without hesitation, he grabbed it, causing the entire structure to tremble. "We need to go," he shouted, clutching the relic tightly. The team regrouped and made a break for the exit, pursued by the relentless creatures. Just as they reached the edge of the jungle, Lily spotted a familiar shimmer in the distance. A gate. "There!" she yelled, pointing ahead. They sprinted toward it, adrenaline fueling their every step. Behind them, the creatures closed in, their guttural cries growing louder. With only seconds to spare, the team leaped through the portal, leaving the jungle and their pursuers behind. When they emerged on the other side, they collapsed onto the sandy ground of Zyria, gasping for breath. Kyle appeared moments later, his expression a mixture of relief and concern. "You succeeded," he said, looking at the relic in Soren's hands. "But the journey is far from over." Ethan stared at the horizon, the weight of their mission settling heavily on his shoulders. He didn't know what lay ahead, but one thing was certain: they would face it together. Back on Zyria, the team gathered in the central chamber of the ruins to examine the relic they had retrieved. It was a small, jagged crystal that pulsed with an inner light, casting faint shadows on the walls. Soren held it carefully, as if afraid it might shatter at any moment. Kale studied it intently, his glowing eyes reflecting its soft glow. "This is one of the Arden's memory cores," he explained. "It contains knowledge, maps, histories, even warnings about their downfall. But accessing it will not be easy." Lily leaned forward, intrigued. "How do we unlock it?" Kale hesitated before answering. "We must connect it to the core nexus. The nexus acts as a translator, allowing us to interpret the data stored within. However, doing so could attract unwanted attention." Ethan frowned. "You mean the same people who attacked us last time?" "Yes," Kale replied gravely. "They are likely monitoring the nexus already. Activating it may draw them here. Ryan crossed his arms, his expression hardening. Then we'll be ready for them. We've faced worse. Mia nodded in agreement. We've got the advantage this time. They don't know what we're capable of. Though their confidence was reassuring, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a trap. Still, there was no turning back now. The relic was too important to ignore. Over the next few days, the team prepared for the activation process. Lily worked tirelessly alongside Zira to calibrate the Nexus, ensuring it could safely interface with the memory core. Meanwhile, Ryan and Mia trained the others in combat strategies, teaching them how to use the environment to their advantage. Ethan struggled at first, but with Ryan's patient guidance, he began to feel more confident in his abilities. Soren, however, seemed distant. He spent long hours meditating near the relic, his scales shifting through muted colors as if troubled by something. When Ethan approached him one evening, Soren looked up, his golden eyes filled with worry. "What's wrong?" Ethan asked gently. Soren hesitated before speaking. "The visions, they grow stronger. I see fragments of the future, but they are unclear. Shadows moving in the dark. A great betrayal." "A betrayal?" Ethan repeated, his stomach sinking. "From who?" "I do not know," Soren admitted. "But we must remain vigilant. Trust is fragile, and enemies often wear familiar faces." Ethan relayed Soren's warning to the group, but they decided to proceed anyway. The potential benefits of unlocking the memory core outweighed the risks, at least for now. The day of the activation arrived, and the tension was palpable. The team assembled in the chamber housing the core nexus, its shimmering surface casting a pale light over everyone's faces. Kale stood beside the sphere, his hands hovering above it as he chanted softly in the melodic language of the Valons. Slowly, the nexus began to hum, its energy growing brighter with each passing second. Lily stepped forward, holding the memory core. With a deep breath, she placed it against the nexus. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the room erupted in a cascade of light and sound. Streams of data flowed between the two objects, forming intricate patterns that danced across the walls. Images flickered in the air, maps of star systems, schematics of ancient machines, and scenes of the Arden civilization in its prime. "It's working," Lily exclaimed, her voice filled with awe. But just as quickly as it began, the display faltered. The nexus emitted a sharp crackle, and the lights dimmed ominously. Kale staggered back, clutching his head as if in pain. "What's happening?" Ethan demanded, rushing to his side. "The nexus, it's resisting," Kale gasped. "Something is interfering." Before anyone could react, alarms blared throughout the settlement. Red lights flashed in the distance, signaling an incoming threat. Ryan swore under his breath and grabbed his weapon. "They're here," he said grimly. The team scrambled to defend the nexus, taking positions around the chamber. Moments later, the enemy forces burst through the entrance, a mix of armored soldiers and robotic drones armed with advanced weaponry. Their leader, the same hulking brute from the previous attack, strode confidently into the room, his cybernetic enhancements gleaming menacingly. "You should have stayed out of our way," he growled, raising his weapon. Without hesitation, the battle began. Blasts of energy ricocheted off the walls as the team fought to hold their ground. Ethan fired his blaster with newfound precision, taking down several drones before ducking behind cover. Nearby, Lily used her technical skills to disable another drone, hacking into its systems with a handheld device. Mia proved herself invaluable, using her mechanical expertise to rig traps that sent enemies stumbling into ambushes. Ryan moved like a shadow, striking swiftly and retreating before anyone could counterattack. Even Soren joined the fray, wielding a staff that emitted bursts of energy capable of stunning their foes. Despite their efforts, the enemy pushed forward, relentlessly. The brute led the charge, shrugging off attacks as if they were mere annoyances. He reached the nexus and raised his weapon, aiming directly at Kyle. "No," Ethan shouted, lunging toward the brute. He tackled him to the ground, grappling desperately to keep him away from the nexus. The brute roared in anger, swinging his massive fists, but Ethan refused to let go. "Get him off me!" the brute bellowed to his troops. Before anyone could intervene, Ryan appeared, delivering a powerful kick that sent the brute sprawling. Together, Ethan and Ryan dragged him away from the Nexus, leaving him dazed and disoriented. Meanwhile, Lily noticed something strange. The memory core was still connected to the Nexus, and its glow was intensifying. She realized what was happening. The influx of data was overloading the system. If it wasn't disconnected soon, the entire structure might collapse. "We need to shut it down," she yelled over the chaos. Kale nodded weakly, gesturing for her to approach. "Quickly, remove the core." Summoning all her courage, Lily dashed toward the Nexus, dodging blasts and leaping over debris. She reached the sphere just as the lights grew blindingly bright. With trembling hands, she pulled the memory core free, causing the energy flow to cease instantly. The sudden silence was deafening. Both sides paused, stunned by the abrupt end to the onslaught. Seizing the opportunity, Ryan signaled for the team to retreat. They regrouped near the exit, dragging the unconscious brute with them as leverage. As they fled the ruins, explosions rocked the settlement behind them. The Nexus had destabilized during the fight, triggering a chain reaction that collapsed part of the structure. Dust and smoke billowed into the sky as the team made their escape. When they finally reached safety, they collapsed onto the sandy ground, exhausted but alive. Kyle surveyed the damage from afar, his expression somber. "We cannot return there," he said quietly. "Not for some time." Ethan looked at the memory core in Lily's hands, its glow now faint but steady. "At least we got this. What happens next?" Kale turned to him, his golden eyes filled with resolve. "Next, we decode the data and prepare for whatever comes our way." In the days that followed, the team focused on analyzing the information stored within the memory core. Under Kale's guidance, they pieced together fragments of maps and discovered the locations of additional relics. Each discovery brought them closer to understanding the full scope of the Arden's legacy and the dangers they faced. But tensions simmered beneath the surface. Soren's warnings about betrayal weighed heavily on everyone's minds, creating an uneasy atmosphere. Ethan caught glimpses of doubt in Ryan's guarded expressions and noticed Mia growing quieter, her usual confidence replaced by hesitation. One evening, as the twin suns set over the desert, Ethan found himself sitting beside Lily near the edge of the settlement. The horizon glowed orange and purple, casting long shadows across the cracked earth. "Do you think we can trust everyone?" Ethan asked suddenly, voicing the question that had been haunting him. Lily sighed, staring at the memory core resting on her lap. "I want to believe we can. But Soren's visions, they make me wonder." Ethan nodded slowly. "Me too. Something feels off. I just don't know what." For now, they kept their suspicions to themselves, focusing instead on the mission ahead. But deep down, both knew that the greatest challenges were yet to come, and not all of them would come from outside the group. The days that followed were tense and uneasy. The team worked tirelessly to decode the information stored in the memory core, but the weight of Soren's warning hung over them like a storm cloud. Trust was fragile, and everyone felt it. Conversations grew shorter, smiles faded, and the once united group began to fracture under the pressure. Ethan noticed subtle changes in Mia first. She had always been quick with a joke or a clever remark, but now she seemed distant, her sharp wit dulled by something unspoken. When he asked her about it one evening, she brushed him off with a shrug. "I'm fine," she said, avoiding his gaze. "Just tired." But Ethan wasn't convinced. He watched her more closely after that, noticing how she often disappeared, for hours at a time, claiming she needed space to think. One night, unable to shake his suspicions, he followed her. Mia didn't go far. She slipped into an abandoned section of the ruins, pulling out a small device that looked oddly familiar. It resembled the handheld tools Lily used to hack into enemy drones. But instead of tinkering with machinery, Mia activated a holographic screen that flickered to life in front of her. On it was a message written in text Ethan couldn't read. "Who are you talking to?" Ethan asked, stepping into view. Mia froze, her eyes widening in panic. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then, slowly, she turned to face him, guilt etched across her face. "It's not what you think," she said quickly, her voice trembling. "Then, explain it to me," Ethan replied, his tone firm but calm. Mia hesitated before speaking. I've been working for someone back on Earth. They sent me here to retrieve the relics. At first I thought they just wanted to study them, to understand their power. But now," her voice trailed off and she looked away. "Now, I'm not so sure." Ethan's stomach sank. "You mean the same people who attacked us? Who destroyed part of the settlement?" Mia nodded reluctantly. "They're called the Syndicate. They're powerful, richer than any government, and they'll stop at nothing to get what they want." "Why didn't you tell us?" Ethan demanded, anger creeping into his voice. "Because I didn't know if I could trust you," Mia shot back, tears welling up in her eyes. "When I got stranded here, I had no choice but to work with Kale and the others. But every day I wondered if I was making the right decision. What if they're lying to us too? What if the Valens aren't as noble as they seem?" Ethan stared at her, torn between frustration and sympathy. Before he could respond, Lily appeared, drawn by the sound of raised voices. "What's going on?" she asked, glancing between them. Ethan hesitated, unsure how much to reveal, but Mia beat him to it. "I've been working for the Syndicate," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "And they know where we are." Lily's expression hardened. "How long have you known this?" "A few days," Mia confessed. "They contacted me through this device. They said they're coming for the relics and for me." The revelation hit the group like a shockwave. When Ethan and Lily confronted the others, tempers flared. Ryan accused Mia of betrayal, while Soren retreated into silence, his scales shifting anxiously. Even Kale, usually so composed, seemed troubled by the news. "We cannot afford division," Kale said finally, his voice steady despite the tension in the room. "If the Syndicate is coming, we must prepare, but we also need to decide what to do about Mia." "She stays with us," Lily argued. "She may have made mistakes, but she's still part of this team. If we push her away, we're no better than the Syndicate." Ryan shook his head. "You're letting your feelings cloud your judgment. She's a liability. And you're letting your anger blind you," Lily shot back. "We don't have time for this. We need to focus on surviving." In the end, they reached a compromise. Mia would remain with the group, but under close watch. She handed over the communication device, which Kyle dismantled immediately. Still, the damage was done. The team's unity was shattered, replaced by a fragile truce held together by necessity rather than trust. The Syndicate arrived sooner than expected. Their ships descended from the sky like dark birds, casting long shadows over the desert. This time, they brought reinforcements. Dozens of soldiers armed with advanced weapons and drones capable of tracking even the faintest energy signatures. Kyle led the evacuation, guiding the team to a hidden bunker deep beneath the ruins. It was a last resort, a place designed to withstand attacks but offering little in terms of defense. As they huddled inside, listening to the distant sounds of explosions, Ethan felt a knot of dread tighten in his chest. "They're looking for us," Soren murmured, his voice barely audible over the chaos outside. "And they won't stop until they find us." "What do we do?" Ethan asked, turning to Kale. Kale's golden eyes gleamed with determination. "We fight, but not here. We lure them away from the Nexus and strike from the shadows." The plan was risky, but it was their only chance. Under cover of darkness, the team split into two groups. Ryan and Mia went one way, setting traps and creating diversions, while Ethan, Lily, and Soren accompanied Kale to confront the Syndicate directly. The confrontation came sooner than anticipated. As they crept through the ruins, they stumbled upon the Syndicate leader, a tall, imposing figure clad in sleek black armor. His helmet concealed his face, but his voice carried an icy authority. "You've caused enough trouble," he said, addressing Kale. "Hand over the relics and we'll leave your people alone." Kale stepped forward, his posture unwavering. "The relics belong to no one. They are remnants of a civilization that fell because of greed like yours." You will not repeat their mistakes. The leader chuckled, a cold, humorless sound. Greed. No progress. Something your kind will never understand. Before anyone could react, the leader signaled his troops, and the battle erupted. Blasts of energy illuminated the ruins, sending shards of stone flying in all directions. Ethan fought alongside Soren, their movements synchronized as they took down enemies with precision. Lily stayed close to Kale, using her technical skills to disable drones and disrupt communications. Amid the chaos, Mia reappeared, her face pale but resolute. She carried a stolen weapon, its barrel glowing ominously. "I'm sorry," she whispered, aiming it at the syndicate leader. Time seemed to slow as she pulled the trigger. The blast struck true, sending the leader stumbling backward. His helmet cracked, revealing a face twisted with rage and pain. He glared at Mia, betrayal flashing in his eyes. "You traitor," he spat, collapsing to the ground. For a moment, everything stopped. The syndicate forces faltered, their leader's fall throwing them into disarray. Seizing the opportunity, Ryan and Mia launched a final assault, driving the remaining soldiers back toward their ships. As the dust settled, the team regrouped, battered but victorious. The syndicate had been defeated, for now, but the cost of their victory weighed heavily on everyone's minds. Mia approached Ethan and Lily, her hands trembling. "I did what I had to do, to protect all of you." Ethan studied her carefully. "Does this mean you're with us now? For real?" Mia nodded, her voice steady despite the tears streaming down her face. "Yes. Whatever happens next, I'm with you." The aftermath of the battle left the team changed. The ruins were scarred, the landscape altered forever by the clash of forces. But within the group, a new sense of purpose emerged. They had faced their greatest challenge yet, and survived. As they stood together beneath the twin suns, Kale addressed them one last time. "The road ahead will be difficult," he said, "but you have proven yourselves worthy guardians of the relics. Together you can ensure that their power is used for good, not destruction." Ethan glanced at his companions, each of them carrying scars, both visible and invisible, from their journey. Despite everything, they had become something stronger than individuals. They had become a team, and whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them side by side. The victory over the syndicate was bittersweet. The team had survived, but the scars of battle ran deep, not just on their bodies but in their minds. Ethan sat alone near the edge of the ruins, staring at the horizon where the twin suns dipped. Below the jagged landscape, the desert stretched endlessly before him, vast and unforgiving, much like the challenges they still faced. Lily found him there, her boots crunching softly against the sand as she approached. She didn't say anything at first, simply sitting beside him and following his gaze. For a while, neither of them spoke, the silence broken only by the distant hum of the wind. "You okay?" Lily finally asked, her voice gentle. Ethan shrugged. "I don't know. I keep thinking about what Kale said, that the Arden fell because of their greed. What if we're no different? What if we're just repeating their mistakes?" Lily sighed, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "We're not like them. We've already made choices they never did. We've chosen to protect instead of exploit. That has to count for something." Ethan nodded slowly, though doubt lingered in his eyes. "I hope you're right." Back at the settlement, the mood was somber. The ruins were heavily damaged, and the Valens worked tirelessly to repair what they could. Kyle moved among them, offering guidance and reassurance, but even he seemed weary. The fight with the syndicate had taken its toll on everyone. Mia stood apart from the others, watching silently as the Valens rebuilt their home. Her betrayal still hung over the group like a shadow, and though she had redeemed herself in the final battle, trust was slow to return. Ryan kept his distance, his expression unreadable, while Soren occasionally glanced her way with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Ethan and Lily approached her cautiously, unsure how to bridge the gap between them. When they finally spoke, it was Ethan who broke the ice. "We need to talk," he said simply, his tone neutral. Mia turned to face them, her shoulders tense. "About what?" "About what happens next," Lily replied. "You saved us back there. You risked everything to stop the syndicate. But we can't keep looking over our shoulders wondering if you'll change your mind again." Mia flinched at the words, pain flickering across her face. "I get it. I messed up. I thought I was doing the right thing when I worked with the syndicate. But I was wrong. And I'm sorry. For everything." Her voice cracked on the last word and she looked away, tears welling up in her eyes. Ethan exchanged a glance with Lily, then stepped closer to Mia. "We all make mistakes," he said quietly. "What matters is what we do after. You've earned another chance, Mia. Don't waste it." Mia nodded, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. "I won't. I promise." Though forgiveness wouldn't come easily, the conversation marked the beginning of healing. Slowly, the team began to rebuild not just the settlement, but their fractured bonds. Days turned into weeks as the group prepared for their next mission. Using the data from the memory core, they identified the location of another relic, a massive artifact buried beneath the surface of a frozen moon orbiting a distant gas giant. Kyle warned them that retrieving it would be dangerous. The moon's harsh environment and unpredictable weather patterns made it nearly uninhabitable. But danger wasn't the only concern. The memory core also revealed fragments of a warning. The relic was unstable, its energy capable of causing catastrophic destruction if mishandled. Still, the team knew they couldn't leave it behind, not when the syndicate might find it first. Before departing, they gathered one last time in the central chamber. Kyle addressed them, his golden eyes shining with quiet resolve. "This mission will test you in ways you cannot imagine," he said. "But remember why you are doing this. The relics are not weapons, they are tools. Tools meant to preserve life, not destroy it. Use them wisely." With those words echoing in their minds, the team boarded their starship. The sleek vessel hummed to life as Zira guided it through the shimmering portal, carrying them toward the icy expanse of the frozen moon. The moment they arrived, the cold hit them like a wall. The ship's sensors painted a bleak picture. Temperatures plummeted far below freezing, and violent storms raged across the surface, obscuring visibility. Despite these challenges, the team pressed on, determined to complete their mission. Using thermal imaging, they located the relic buried deep within a glacier. It pulsed faintly beneath the ice, its glow visible even through layers of frost. Donning specialized suits designed to withstand the extreme conditions, Ethan, Lily, Ryan, and Mia ventured outside to retrieve it. The journey was grueling. Every step was a battle against biting winds and treacherous terrain. At one point, Mia slipped on a patch of black ice, nearly falling into a crevasse. Ryan grabbed her arm just in time, pulling her back to safety. For a moment, their eyes met, and Mia saw something softening in his usually hardened expression. "Thanks," she murmured, her voice barely audible over the howling wind. Ryan nodded curtly. "Don't mention it." As they reached the site of the relic, the ground trembled beneath their feet. A jagged fissure split open, revealing the artifact encased in a crystalline shell. Its surface shimmered with an otherworldly light, casting eerie reflections onto the surrounding ice. "It's beautiful," Lily whispered, awestruck. "And dangerous," Ethan reminded her, his voice tense. "Let's get it on board before something goes wrong." Working quickly, they attached cables to the relic and activated the ship's winch system. As the artifact rose from the glacier, the tremors grew stronger, threatening to collapse the entire structure. Suddenly, a massive chunk of ice broke loose, hurtling toward them. "Move!" Ryan shouted, pushing Lily out of the way just as the Yaour shard struck the ground where she had been standing. The impact sent shockwaves rippling through the area, knocking everyone off balance. Ethan scrambled to his feet, shouting orders as they retreated to the ship. Behind them, the glacier began to crumble, swallowed by the widening chasm. By the time they reached the vessel, the relic was secured inside. Zira wasted no time lifting off, navigating the turbulent atmosphere with expert precision. As they ascended into space, the frozen moon receded into the distance, its storms raging harmlessly below. Back on Xeria, the team reunited with Kale to examine the new relic. Unlike the memory core, this artifact radiated raw energy, its power both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Kale studied it carefully, his expression grave. "This relic holds the essence of creation," he explained. "It can shape worlds, or destroy them. Guard it well." Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. "Can we even control something like this?" Kyle shook his head. "No, but we can choose how to use it. That is the burden and the gift of the Arden legacy." The weight of responsibility settled heavily on the team. They had seen firsthand the consequences of unchecked ambition. If they wanted to avoid the same fate as the Arden, they would need to tread carefully. In the weeks that followed, the team continued their mission, traveling through portals to recover more relics. Each journey brought new dangers and revelations, testing their courage and resolve. Along the way, old wounds began to heal, replaced by a renewed sense of purpose. Mia proved herself invaluable, using her knowledge of Earth's technology to adapt the relics for safe transport. Ryan softened slightly, his initial mistrust giving way to reluctant respect. Even Soren's visions became less ominous, hinting at a future shaped by unity rather than division. One evening, as the twin suns set over the ruins, Ethan and Lily stood side by side, gazing at the horizon. The desert was quiet, save for the occasional rustle of wind through the ivy-covered walls. "Do you ever think about going back?" Lily asked softly. Ethan hesitated before answering. "Sometimes, but I don't think I'd feel at home anymore. Not after everything we've seen." Lily smiled faintly. "Me neither. This place, it's become home." Ethan nodded, a sense of peace washing over him. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. And maybe, just maybe, they could honor the Arden's legacy without repeating their mistakes. As the stars emerged one by one in the twilight sky, the team gathered around the glowing relics, united by a shared vision of hope and determination. Their journey was far from over, but for now they had each other, and that was enough.